Okay. So, what do I mean by enterprise? What is an enterprise?
Organization like
It's an
company.
organization. So, you all in the different teams belong to an enterprise, right? And the enterprise is the organization, whether it's the team itself that you belong to, or the greater enterprise, which is the university itself. So, in order for a RICO cause of action to take place, there must be an enterprise. Okay? Now, that's to make it different than some two guys deciding, we're going to rob a bank. Or the lady that was just captured yesterday that went through several different states robbing jewelry stores. Okay? That's not an enterprise. That's a single participant. So, in order to make it a RICO, they're requiring enterprise because they're saying, look, this is major stuff. This is not just your run-of-the-mill, somebody gets up in the morning and says, gee, I don't have any money in my pocket, I want to rob somebody. So, because there's a lot of resources that are spent in investigating RICO actions. Okay? So there must be an enterprise. Through a pattern, at least 2 related acts within 10 years. So there must be not just one crime. There must be multiple crimes. This must be an ongoing concern. Not just somebody doing one thing. It must be an ongoing concern. And there must be more than one person. You cannot be charged with RICO if you're only one person, because there's no enterprise. Okay? So the idea is to cast a wide net, and when we're talking about the acts, they don't have to be the same act. Let me tell you how organized crime has worked in the past. Okay? Somebody is buying and selling drugs. Okay? And that's what they do. And that's what they're good at. They buy and sell drugs, and they're very good at it. And they report to somebody. And unbeknownst to the person that's really good at buying and selling drugs, there's another person over here that has to do with gambling. You know, la bolita, taking bets, the bookie, that sort of thing. And that person doesn't know the guy, but reports to the same boss. Okay? And there's somebody else that has to do with prostitution. Doesn't know these 2 other people, doesn't get involved, isn't on a day-to-day activity. So, what RICO tries to do is it tries to cast a long net to capture all of them and say, you over here with the drugs, you're going to be responsible for the prostitution too, but I didn't know anything about it. Doesn't matter. You're part of the same enterprise. You're part of the same organization. So now, whereas before, if you were a criminal, you would say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this, and I spend a great deal of time in jail speaking to people who are serving time. And this is something that they say all the time. If you can't do the time, okay? If you can't do the time, if you can't pay the time, don't do the crime. In other words, if I stole and I get caught, it was my gamble. I decided that I was going to do it, and I'll do the time because I decided to do it. But now, get that same person and say, you know, you thought that you were going to do the time for robbery, but guess what? You're going to do the time for murder. Why? I didn't do the murder. Well, because now it's part of the same organizational thing. So now you, the underling, now you at the bottom, begin to say, I don't want to get involved with this. Whereas before you were protected, because all you were doing was the things that you were willing to do the time for. Now you can be hit with crimes that are more serious and a lot more severe. So now you were kind of a little bit itchy because that wasn't part of your business plan. Right? That wasn't part of your business plan. Now you get arrested and you're told, oh, by the way, your organization killed a couple of people, and guess what? You're involved too. Now you might be more willing to give up some of the people that are involved in the organization because you don't want to go to jail for killing somebody. You didn't kill anybody. You didn't know about it. You didn't. So why should you do that? So RICO is also in place not only to cast a long net and capture a lot of people, but also to deteriorate, to lessen the loyalty that the people that are working for this organization has. To put the people who are kind of organizing it more in fear that they're going to be turned. So now you begin to see some of the beauty of RICO. But this is not a class on criminal law, is it? Is this criminal law, you know, PLA, whatever? It isn't. So why are we talking about RICO? Although it's interesting, isn't it? RICO's interesting, and murder is interesting. Not that I would ever commit murder, or that I like people committing murder, but I like talking about it. So why are we talking about it in this class? How does it affect business? Which is what you're sitting here for, right? You're sitting here for business. So how does it affect business?
It protects business entity.
It does protect it, but indirectly. So if that's all it did, it would be a blip in our radar. Very small blip, we wouldn't even talk about it. You would have to be in your like 10th class on business law for me to address it. And you're not in your 10th class for business law. So how does it affect it? And this is how it does. I'm going to borrow a theory from a completely different class or topic. And I'm going to build a theory on evolution. Okay? It's not a class on evolution either. But what happened was, once it was created, people put their thinking caps on and said, hey, wait a second. There are business activities that are tantamount to crimes. There are businesses out there. We see them all the time. They sue each other because of the stealing business plans and stealing business ideas and all sorts of business related things. And they said, well, there's this thing in criminal law, and we know that criminal law is the public wrong, but can't we use this RICO like we use other torts as a civil wrong?
Yeah.
These people are hurting us. Can we not then bring it to court and say, Mr. Judge, even though our government hasn't seen fit to prosecute these people for criminal wrongdoing, we have been injured by a racketeering plan. And therefore, please help us out. And today, there's multiple lawsuits. Did you all find examples of how RICO is used in business? You did. Give me an example.
Well, you just said taxes, inside trading, like you're doing when you receive something.
Well, inside trading is still a criminal activity, isn't it? Inside trading?
Inside trading.
Do you know what inside trading is, by the way? It sounds like it shouldn't be illegal. But because the market is such, it becomes against the law. Inside trading is when someone who's inside a corporation, a publicly held corporation, and somebody who's inside or has information of the group that's managing it,
So I would say.
takes action before the general public does. Okay? For those of you that are in sport, think about inside trading, the business side, as gambling. Right? Think that you know that there is a particular player in your team that's very important, and nobody knows that that person's injured. And you know it, and there's a big game that's going to take place. Please don't do that. And you decide, hey, I know that this person, I know that this person's injured and they're not going to play, but nobody else does. Since this person is injured and not going to play, there's a likelihood that we're not going to win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet against our team. Right? I'm going to go out and bet against our team because our star player isn't going to be playing, and therefore, and nobody else knows, so the odds change depending on what the people that are gambling think are the possibilities. Right now, as we are marching towards the most publicized game in the world, because when the Super Bowl is played, the whole world watches, right? When we're marching towards that game, you know that the odds are going to be based on who's injured, who's not injured, who's playing, who's not playing. So if you have inside information on that, you can post a bet while the odds are more favorable to you and make a killing, right? Is that lawful? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Not if you were in the team. Not if you're in the team. Ask Pete Rose. Okay, ask Pete Rose, who is now banned from baseball. So inside trading is like that. You have inside information nobody else has. So you either sell all your stock or you buy a lot of stock, because tomorrow the news is going to spread and the price is going to go higher. But you can imagine that if inside traders were allowed to do that, then companies would be very public companies, I'm not talking about private companies, public companies who have an obligation to the people that are buying their stock to be transparent and to provide information. Public companies would be affected because these people get the information first and they get the opportunity to gamble on it, and you don't. So you're going to say, I'm not going to buy any stocks, because if only the people that get the information get the advantage, why am I going to buy stocks? So it dissuades people from buying stocks. And is that a good thing for our economy? No. We're hearing in the news in the last few days that because of China's situation, the stock market has crashed. Yesterday I was standing with my plumber, actually the gas guy who happens to be a plumber. And the guy's talking to me about the stock market and how his stocks are doing. He says, you know how much money I've lost on the stock market because of this situation with China? So imagine that we want, as a government, as a society, for the stock market to move. In order for the stock market to be able to move, you who are buying stocks, you who are selling stocks, must trust that the market is even or equal for everybody. So inside trading is against the law because it makes the regular individual not trust the market. And when the regular individual doesn't trust the market doesn't move and the economy flounders. So that person with inside trading technically is causing the entire market to flounder. And therefore, it's very important for the US government, for that person to be taught a lesson, because the rest of us must say, hey, if you don't teach that person a lesson, I'm going to be out of the market and we're all going to do poorly. So that's inside trading. Okay? Explain to you inside trading. Okay, let's go back beyond retail and let's take a step back. Let's talk about basic crimes and basic civil wrongs. First of all, let me build vocabulary. Number one, a civil wrong that we've been talking about is called a tort. Okay? A civil wrong is a tort. A public wrong is a... What is murder? What is murder? A crime. A public wrong is a tort. Crime. A public wrong is a crime. A private wrong is a tort. Okay? So, in a public wrong, society as a whole, as I told you with the inside trading, is injured. And therefore, society as a whole must kind of come after you. So that's why in criminal cases, the plaintiff, which is the name that is given to the person that begins the case, is the state of Florida versus Paulino Sanchez. It is the United States of America versus Charlie Smith. It doesn't say, well, the victim, Mary versus Joe. No. In a criminal case, it's the entire country or it's the entire state that has been injured by your activity. That